Today we're going to be playing Operation Typhoon. And as you can see, the situation report is quite simple. We're trying to actually surround Moscow here in this particular operation. There's a number of different cities that we're going to want to take. Bryansk, we've got Orel, we've got, I think, Kursk. Yes, right there. But guys, we need to do this all before October, or at least as much as possible before October, because we have a massive rainstorm coming in, or massive rains that are going to make everything muddy, everything impossible to move through. It's going to be a pain. So what we're doing right now, we are ending the turn. Air directives, we're actually leaving up to the AI. So most of the air directives for the Germans in Operation Typhoon are actually going to be reconnaissance. We're sending out planes to try and find Soviet positions and ultimately find the best gap for our men to jump through. Now, the idea here, guys, is to get those tanks as far along as possible before the rains come. Get those infantry moving as well, because that is actually going to be the Soviets' best friend here, the mud and the rain, which will stop our army in its tracks. All right, there we go. Now we move on to the attacks, and it's time to get serious, folks. I think I want to go for Rzhev first, but we've also got Vyazma right there. A lot of different cities that we could potentially take this turn. Let's get started. First things first, we'll just do a 1-to-1 here. I'm not even going to do a deliberate attack. I just want to see how well stocked it are. And as you can see, there are 12 lost on our side to 467 on the enemy. Pretty damn good. I'm going to go ahead and do a deliberate attack here. We're going to pause that. And as you can see, 48 men as well as 1,048 men, 18 guns. It's looking pretty good for us, guys, as well as 15 bombers. But the idea being, of course, we want to try and bump the Soviets out of here to make way and make room for our tanks. And this area over here might not be the best one west of the Volga River. The reason being it's quite swampy, it's quite treacherous over here, so this might not be the best area to break through. But we need to try to cut these guys off at Kalinin, and we need to try to cut these guys off at Kursk. And if we can accomplish that, we've got ourselves a victory. Push on forward with the 131st Infantry Division. Looks like they're even going to commit one of their tank brigades to the defense here, but we managed to push through, and we do have a heavy howitzer brigade with these divisions. That's going to help big time. There we go, the 841st Heavy Howitzer. It's just extremely helpful. But as you can see, there is a river here. Doesn't look like our guys are going to be able to make it to the other side. I want to make sure the enemy has nobody here. We are going to do a mass attack against this position, although I wish we didn't have to. But it's a pretty dangerous position, and we got very lucky there. 7,187, quite nicely done. Typically, that would be about 1,000 before they manage to get away. But when you're doing a deliberate attack like that, you're, of course, sending all your men in at once, and some confusion can happen. Let's go ahead and hit that unit. Looks like we're also about maybe a kilometer or several kilometers away from an HQ. It's right there. We can almost see it. And I think I'm going to take my SS Das Reich division and immediately start messing with the enemy rail lines. So again, just trying to cause as much damage as possible to these rail lines. If we can attack some HQs behind the lines to cause further confusion, then we certainly will. Let's keep it going, boys. Enemy is sending a lot of different support there, mostly armored support to try and stop our advance. I think this guy should be able to deal with this group. But no defending forces held, actually causing 413 casualties amongst us. It's pretty serious. So let's go ahead and do a deliberate attack, and of course caused a massive rout there. But we've got to be careful with those pockets of resistance. This is still early war, but it's not earliest war. So the Soviets are prepared in some of these defensive positions. When you see those 17s or 10s even, those are not going to be particularly easy defensive positions to break through. We're going to actually have to work at it quite a bit. So here we go. I think we should be able to break through here fairly easily. And I'm going to commit this infantry unit to assisting. Amazing job there by 12th Corps. I think we just need to keep on proceeding across these river areas. These river tiles are going to be tough to get around anyway. So we might as well get over them now. But another idea is just to sort of create our own gap here. Pretty much to split this part of the Soviet army to the south from this part in the north. And I think we can do that. The problem is that most of their supplies are coming from Moscow, and that pretty much leads both to the south and to the west fairly easily, unless we cut off these lines back here. near Torkova and Medin. If we don't cut off those lines, they're still going to be getting supplies. At least most of them are. Forward! Deliberate attack. Now, these deliberate attacks are also pretty hard on our men. As you can see, we're pretty much doing a massive charge against the enemy. We don't want to commit to them every single time. We don't want to do them every single time. So here, let's try to do just a very basic attack. But as you can see, with the basic attack, the defending forces will hold. You're a bit calmer. Now we're going to switch to a deliberate, and you can see they retreated. So it just gives you an idea of the sort of kind of attack that we're doing there. A standard attack is a standard attack. A deliberate attack is committing all to hit the enemy all at once. And we're going to go here again. The numbers are quite strong here. They're going to rout just barely 10,000 guys. We took just about every single one of them prisoner there. Or maybe just killed them all. And over here, we're just going to do standard attack. Now, committing the mechanized division, we might have to go for the deliberate. But no, it looks like we managed to push through. So when we can go for the standard attack, I am going to take it. In this case, definitely going to do a deliberate one and just overwhelm that enemy group. But this is the actual defensive position leading to Vyazma. And I have to say, despite it not being the most important city to the Soviets, they do a damn good job defending it. Really damn good job. And the thing is, if we can get over here to the Vyazma, we're south of Moscow. We just go ahead, boost up, and we will be there. I'm not going to say in no time, but we can get to Moscow, certainly. Let's give a little infantry support here. I think to break through this particular and 38th Rifle Division, we're going to need some assisting armies here. Ton of air support there for that unit, and even the tanks are providing a little bit of support. Now, as you can see, the enemy HQ is directly ahead of us. I think this is our chance to do some serious damage here. Every single one of these units along with me. And I'm sure that Rokossovsky, an amazing Soviet general, is immediately going to break away. And there we go. Immediately broke away. We can continue these attacks, try and further damage the enemy forces there. Sending the howitzer regiments running. I love it. Both us and the Soviets are huge fans of those howitzers. But I think we have just a few more of them this early on in the war. Again, trying to scare the hell out of those HQs. Typically, they will run if you have a mechanized unit or if they have nobody defending their HQ, but he's actually holding, so I'm not going to call his bluff. I won't attack. He's also on this side of the river, though, which could mean he simply can't leave right now, and we could potentially take a general prisoner. But I'm not going to go crazy here. Just going to make sure that our men are constantly attacking, and more importantly, constantly gaining ground. We really want to make sure that that ground is always being gained during this operation. A little risky here, sending this unit through, but I think we'll be alright. Nicely done, boys! If that attack had not worked, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it wouldn't be good. Pretty soon here, once we are done with these infantry attacks, we'll start to determine where the armored groups can go. As you can see, we've got quite a few tank units. In fact, we can take this one right now, the 2nd Panzer Division, and just go to Suknishi. I just want to kind of hang out at Suknishi to cut off any supplies over here to these enemies in the west. We've also got an interesting southern front with a lot of armored support here. Unfortunately, we're going to have to commit tank divisions to moving these guards light rocket regiments back and light guard regiments. And I don't usually like to commit tank divisions to these attacks, but in this situation, it's absolutely essential. And as you can see, we're opening up like a really nice front. So it's actually going to pay off. Let's actually, if I say actually again, have me shot, please. Push this guy right there. We're cutting off all of the roads to the south, to the west. But let's proceed northeast if we can. Right now, I'm not going to proceed northeast because I want to keep these guys in supply. We can bring the HQ forward, and we should be able to bring some pretty good supply here. Yeah, there we go. But let's continue those attacks against these infantry units. Shouldn't be doing deliberate attacks with the tanks, but I did anyway. At least we're causing mass casualties amongst the Soviet lines. I don't think there's any real way to avoid this. Boom. Kremlin NKVD motorized regiment. So I wonder if that's a specialized NKVD unit directly from the boss's house. I mean, yeah, it could be. Let's make sure that the red guards here are wiped out. That's a unit you don't want behind our lines. The Guards Rifle Division. And we caused some pretty dramatic casualties, but we're just going to keep pushing. They actually held against these motorized units. That's alright. We're just going to have the tanks cut them off anyway. Wonder if that HQ will move. I think it will, because we've got an armored unit, and as you can see, the enemy AI is so damn good in this game, and just knowing that this is a tank, they know they can't outrun it if it decides to attack, so they immediately break away. Now, had that been an infantry unit at the end of its movement phase, they probably wouldn't really do much. They would stay put, because they know that if they need to, they can always escape that infantry push. Now, over here, we're doing attacks across a river. That's obviously never going to go well for our men, but we really don't have much of a choice. So let's just try and do it as quickly as we can and as effectively as we can without taking a bunch of units, but just taking single divisions and breaking through these defensive positions. See, like that? That's working great. We want to just keep on doing that. I have been committing to these deliberate attacks. That also means that we take any air support in the near region. So we don't want to do that every time, but I think for turn 1... I think this is acceptable. If we do that every time, our men will be tired. They won't even be able to make it to Moscow by walking, much less fighting. And don't worry, guys. Before the end of the episode, we always make sure to put the casualty count up. In case you guys are looking for that, I will put that at the very end of the video. Let's commit to this attack here. And I need serious commitment here. But we managed to push them back. Only taking out a quarter of their forces. Although the job is done. Do the same with this guy. Again, a fairly strong unit in this sector. With that 17 defensive bonus. We're still not across that river. I want to make sure to get a foothold across the river. There we go. Again, should not be attacking with tanks like that. We got very lucky, though. We didn't lose a single tank in that attack. And also, we kept that tank still amongst the lines. But you could see that secondary Soviet front. And we're going to have quite a rough time getting through there, I think. I'm going to get rid of that mechanized unit. Make sure they don't have mechanized units behind the lines here. And of course, we always want to make sure that the HQs are keeping the men in range. So far, things are looking wonderful. Looking grand. Just a standard cavalry division. I think that's an easy breakthrough as well. Beautiful. 5,553. I mean, some of these attacks are going so well. We'll garner some support, or gather some support for this attack as well. Look at that. Nearly wiping out every single one of the enemy units in their divisions. So we've got to keep these going. But of course, these are deliberate attacks that we're doing. We're committing entire divisions to this. As you can see, all of those divisions are committed to that. And it could be a problem later on. Alright, that was my bad. I selected the security division before looking. We really wanted to select the infantry divisions here. Let's grab both of them. Let's just grab all of them at this point. Now the security divisions can get their vengeance. And usually these divisions are used to, of course, keep partisans away from our railroads behind the lines. We've also got a nice little tank division that the German army has decided to bestow upon us, not attached to any particular army group. So it's going to have to be used in these assaults. That's a pretty successful defense there. They didn't actually manage to harm our units, but they stopped the defense, or they managed to defend. I think here we should wait a bit. We could carry out an attack against these units, but I think it might be a mistake. Especially against this 18 strength one. Now this one, I'm going to go ahead and attack. take a little risk there with the 243rd Rifle Division, and they actually managed to kind of hold on. I kind of expected our men to be a little further along this turn. There's still quite a few tanks that we have to move, though. Armored pieces that we have to move, like this one, for instance. Look what we can do here. We'll also send those retreating units scattering even further. But the important thing here is to just cut off the railroad supplies to any of the Soviet units in this area. Fortunately, I wish that was a little more successful along this front, because they still have that, like, secondary front line. I'm actually going to divert this unit up here, just so he can get an attack against that particular infantry unit. Just kind of feels like it shouldn't be there, and it's stopping us from being able to exploit the area with our tanks. Because, see, we can't get behind them in any way, so we might have to go head-on. But I'm starting to see some forts, things like that, and forts don't typically look good when you're trying to do a blitzkrieg. Let's put it that way. Well, there we go. I am going to take the risk. We'll hit the HQ with the defending unit there, and rout them. Beautiful. We could actually also hit this HQ, but I'm not gonna spend any more points on the tank. Let's just give him some time to relax. What I will do, however, if I can. Oh, I guess he does have an army group. My bad. Right. I have to give it to the enemy. Damn good defense there by the 174th Rifles. I thought for sure we'd break through, but nope, they stopped us. Sure enough. I was getting worried that they would stop us there with the 126th Rifle Division, and that seems almost impossible considering the manpower we've got here. Keep it up, boys. Wonderful. We are not sure what's going on here. We're going to need our recon planes to give us a better information on that tile. Although, you know what? I'm gonna call the enemy's bluff. I don't think they've got much here. And it is just a single rifle division. There we go, running in terror once again. Just want to fill those gaps, although I'm not necessarily going to push that hard on the north. My real main focus is the center and, of course, the south. Keep in mind, this is just one portion, my friends, of the entire German line. This is not the entire Eastern Front. It's a portion, specifically the portion where Operation Typhoon is occurring. So I think it would be Army Group Center, if I'm not mistaken. And a little bit of Army Group North. So here we go. Want to move forward these fresh troops. They haven't seen a day of combat. Well, now they have. Well done, boys. Under Hubert Metz. I'm just going to guess his name is Hubert. It probably isn't. And let's get this guy forward as well. We might as well attack that lone division there. And also gives our guys a little bit of target practice for future enemy divisions. Now down here, we're going for Belgorod. This particular area, I believe it's part of, oh god, what's the name of that region called? Not Belarusia. Anyway, I'll have to come back and just put it in the comments. My god, my brain has gone blank. Let's go here. Is it Barbarossa? No, it's not Barbarossa. It's the part of Russia, getting close to the southeastern part of Russia that has oil fields. So like Kazan, things like this. I think the city is called Kazan. Let's get down here and take a look. I don't know if it's going to let us go off map. Yeah, it's not going to let us go off map. It's not giving us the name of the region either. Usually it has the name of the region here. Like this is Belarus. Interesting. Well, we'll just figure it out later. And continue along the Dnieper here. The Dnieper is sort of the center region, the actual river running through. But we're just going to refer to this as the Dnieper region. Let's go for an attack. We still got attacks we can carry out. And getting very close to the city of Vyazma. Get a feeling that might be one of our first grabs. We've got to attack this guy. He'd get past us. We got very lucky, and I mean very lucky on that attack. I was worried about keeping that unit there because at any point they could break out and, of course, get behind us, flank us, shut down our lines. We don't want that happening. And this guy we're going to go to the south with this armored unit. So try to cut off the enemy's southern units. And it's hilarious how those guys retreat immediately. We so far haven't managed to evacuate a single town, but you'll see once we start getting close to these positions, the positions we actually have to take, that's really when we start getting populations evacuating towns to make sure that, of course, they don't get captured by us. Let's move on through here. The tank rush continues, boys. I am going to strike that HQ. But not this turn. I think it's going to be a problem, actually. I think that HQ is going to be a problem. Making it a lot easier for these infantry units. As you can see, they'll probably just be able to break right through here. But it usually takes like 1 or 2 turns for the lack of supply to really take effect. You can be out of supply, you know, for a little while and still be all right, still be using your reserve supply. That's the point we really want to get to here. We want to get to the point where the enemy is entirely out of supply. I think it's Bellarabia. I'm almost certain it is. So that's the Bellarabia region here in the south, the oil fields, etc. We're really not focusing on that for this fight. You know, we're really focusing, the main point of Operation Typhoon, besides taking all these other cities, is to take the city of Moscow, to take the Soviet capital and finish this war once and for all. Oh, look at that. We desperately need to get that general closer, that HQ closer, I should say. He's also got to get closer to his men over here, but we can't currently do that. We'll have to focus on that a little bit later. But let's get the infantry forward. Still a fresh infantry unit here hanging out, prepared to get to the front. We've taken any number of small Soviet villages and towns amongst the front lines here, but we still have, of course, a long way to go. And any chance we get to exploit this particular position, I'm taking. But also trying to, at the same time... Oh, didn't mean to move the HQ there, but it works. Keep the HQ near our frontal units. So we're about to do the same thing with this one. He's actually still going to be able to deliver fuel to all these units. Let's just hope that the enemy doesn't restructure their line here. Because then, of course, our guy here in Karochnishi would be in a bit of trouble. I think we're done, guys. I could be wrong. Maybe we still have a little left to do. That's why I'm still checking. But I think we're doing all right. We're off to an okay start. Could it be better? Of course. Could always be better. It's always the case. Yeah, I think that might be it. I just want to see if we have any additional armor back here that we could send out, because we might have some, although then again, maybe not. All right, guys. So another really cool thing we can do in this game, what we will do is attack here. Another really cool thing we can do in this game is actually set the supply or the depot management, leave that to the AI. Now, if you want to micromanage that on your own, of course you can do that. It's your option. But this is something you could leave to the AI. You don't need to do it on your own. Especially if it's something you kind of struggle with. So we are going to leave this on AI management. But first, I want to get my HQ as close as possible to being able to provide for both those units. And we're just going to do a quick check on our HQs here on the front line. We want to make sure all of our units are in range. That tank is not going to be in range. That's okay, though. It's a sacrifice we're willing to make right now. Here we go. I think for now, we can more or less hold. All right, guys, let's set that, let the AI manage our depots, let the AI bring in supplies, etc. And now what I'm going to do is end the turn. Maybe one more attack. No. Let's end the turn. You never know in these games. You always think you've forgotten something, but I think we're good. And as you can see now that that air to come in, we're going to be getting freight delivered to several men who need, fuel, men who need munition, nature. And this is, of course, our opportunity to do that. I think because this is one aspect of military life that maybe doesn't get discussed enough. Guys that are driving transport planes, on either side are absolute heroes. That's a job that gets very little respect. They have no defense fighter escort, but they can easily be hit by flak, easily be hit by enemy planes. It's just a way. If you can see, the rains have officially come in, and this is, of course, what's going to make it a lot harder for us to move as quickly as we'd like, because the Soviet mud, the Soviet rain, just the weather in general is almost always working against us. That little gap that you've got in September, it really gives you that opportunity to get as close as you're going to get. It's as good as the weather's going to be. Now, October, November, December, it's going to be cold and it's going to be rainy. So we'll see what happens. And in December, it might be, blizzard conditions. But let's hope that's not the case. And they are doing some counterattack actually. And of course, good old-fashioned attrition attacks. Try to cut off the lines behind us. Certainly with lines, I should say, not to Moscow, but to their prospective cities, via etc. They're going to try to cut off those tanks. And they might, as you can see here, they're also bringing in some air freight. Their own thing, too. I think they're also going to have a separate air turn thing. No, actually, it might be our air turn. But we've left that entirely up to the AI. Really focus on taking out the enemy planes. We can and have control, so we just simply right now, especially in operation, fairly certain that I can trust the AI for this one. They did a really good job on my initial campaign just for fun, so I think they can do a damn good job here. There's the turn summary, guys. 179,000 lost on the Soviet side. We had 29,000, let's just call it 30,000 lost on our side. 54 tanks to the enemy's 153. 249 planes to the enemy's nearly 900 planes. And of course, now we will end our air directives phase. Let's take a look there. We did have 2 operational losses. I think the operational losses are just like pretty much like planes taking off, planes that have faulty pieces, because we do have air combat losses, right? That would be like fights in the air. I get the feeling that operational is running out of fuel, etc. If you want to take a look at the air execution phase, you can always just take a look here at the raids, the amount lost, the enemies downed. This isn't always going to give you all the information you need to know, though, I'll be honest with you. Really, it's going to come down to looking on the ground, how your men have moved, the air support they've received. And we can see here, look at how much farther back the Soviets have decided to go. They've moved their forces all the way to a secondary line, and this likely means that next turn we're going to have the opportunity to really try and take these positions. However, as you can see, some of these tank units, these HQs, we're going to have to supply them. That's going to take some time. For now, we'll break through, try and finish off the remaining Soviet units. I think we shouldn't have much of an issue, but now we need to turn our attention eastwards. It looks like they aren't that far from Moscow with that secondary line, though, folks. So if we can get through this pouring rain, through these swamps in a nice, timely amount of time, well, we might be looking at a beautiful victory here. But we've got quite a few turns to go, so if you enjoy this and you want to see some more war in the East, then you know what you got to do for me. You got to hit that like button, drop a comment, drop a comment down below, really important, and subscribe if you're new. Because again, this is super niche stuff here, super niche stuff. Few people are covering it, and I really do want to give it my undivided attention. I'm trying to take Khrushchev before the end of this turn. I want to at least get the population to evacuate here. I think I might be able to. Yeah, that was just me kind of trying to speed things along there. We will get the population of Khrushchev to run, but not yet. We're going to have to wait just a little bit. We'll deal with all of the enemy infantry over here. They're going to be a nuisance. But once we get them out of the way, we should be able to just walk at least to their front lines and begin doing some damage there. Now, what I'd like you to do is, especially with these grand strategy games, or let's call operational level strategy games, I like to get your feedback and your advice, and I will follow it if I can, if I think it's good advice. So put down below what you think we should do in this next turn, and if your advice is salient, we'll even make you a general here. We'll name you a general here in the German army, and we'll put the operations, the mini operation within an operation, let's say, we'll put your name behind that. So keep that in mind, and it could be an interesting and fun way to be a part of these Let's Play series. Here we go. I know there's going to be a lot of troop movement, so I'm trying to get rid of some of it now. Yeah, we're looking good. We're looking good. I think we should be at Vyazma this turn. And if not this turn, certainly next turn. Yeah, as you can see, we've got to be careful. This is one of those things about the air patrols. It's only going to give us so much information. So it let us know that there's a nice line, thick line, running behind here. What it's not going to show us are these smaller, sporadic lines appearing near Vyazma, near Rzhev. It's not going to show us that. So we can't just rush in expecting to be able to get an easy victory automatically. There's going to be some steps to this. Quite a few steps to make sure that there's no secondary defenses. Well, guys, I'll see you in the next turn, hopefully. And thank you so much for watching. Take care. Oh, wait, I forgot. Can't leave without looking at the casualties. What are you insane? So here we go, guys. Total losses, 600. They did a recent update and greatly fixed the wounded kill count, because it used to be you'd have like 10,000 killed, 500 wounded, and that doesn't make any sense. All right, guys, take care. For the Reich.